Welcome back to part 2. I hope you enjoyed your brain break with some fun yoga today. Now we are going to go over some words that you have already learned and some words that maybe are new to you from our text from Module 2 so far. Our first word you will see here is the word fable. Say it with me, fable. If you remember, we read 2 different fables. We read The Hare and the Tortoise and 7 Blind Mice. Well, in those short stories, we know that they had animals in them and there was a lesson. And so that's what we call a fable. Both of those stories that we read were short stories with animals that had a lesson. Our next word is discover. Say it. Discover. Discover means to see, learn, or find out. So if you see something, or you learn something, or you find out something, you could say that you have discovered it. You remember that in the story 7 Blind Mice, that the white mouse discovered something. Do you remember what the white mouse discovered? That's right. The white mouse discovered, after crawling all over the something, that it was an elephant. So if you see something or learn something or find something out, you have discovered it. And remember our book, Me, Jane? She made some discoveries about animals. She found some things out about animals by watching them, observing them. And you have been discovering new things in science as you have been learning or finding things out about animals. Our next word is lesson. Lesson. A lesson is the message of a fable. You have learned some lessons in The Hare and the Tortoise. You learned a lesson in 7 Blind Mice. And it's something that you learn and keep in your mind. There's a little typo there. I'll have to fix that. It's supposed to say keep. But when you learn something new, when you learn a lesson or when you read a fable and you learn something from that fable, you keep it in your mind. So that's why he is pointing, this arrow is pointing to his mind, because he has learned something and he's keeping it in his mind. So sometimes you might learn a lesson from a story that you read, but you might also learn new things in life. When something happens to you, you might learn a lesson, something that you need to keep in your mind and remember. Well, in Me, Jane, remember she had a chimpanzee. We could shorten it for chimp, but her chimpanzee was named Jubilee. But later, after her dream came true of working with the animals in Africa, she worked with real chimpanzees. And a chimpanzee is a type of ape that lives in the forest of Africa. Did you know that an ape is not a monkey? I learned something new as I was doing my research. A monkey has a tail, but a chimpanzee or an ape does not. So that's how you tell the difference between an ape and a monkey. That an ape does not have a tail and a monkey does. Then we know that our friend Jane was very curious. She was so excited or eager to learn new things. She observed a lot and she read a lot about animals because she was so curious. She wanted to learn new things about them. And here's our word, observed. And remember when we did this with our shades of meaning chart? We learned that observed means to watch and listen closely. And here's our word that we learned today, cherish, to love something a lot. And you see in the picture that this mom and dad cherish their kids. They love them a lot. Here's our new words. Tomorrow you're going to start a new book all about a seahorse. It's called Seahorse, the Shyest Fish in the Sea. And the seahorse is a small fish that lives in the ocean, and it has a head kind of like a horse. and it has a tail like a fish. That's why it's called a seahorse. You've been talking about this word in science, survive. In the book, Seahorse, the Shyest Fish in the Sea, you're going to be learning about how seahorses survive. And we know that means they continue to live. So you see in the picture here that this plant is surviving. Oh, but this plant is dying. So if something is surviving, it's continuing to live. And then our last word is the word feature. Now, this is an important word because this is a part of our essential question for Module 2. A feature is a part or characteristic of something that makes it special. So you see here that there's an arrow pointing to the seahorse's tail. Well, that tail is very important to the seahorse. It's a part that makes it special. So you have features that make you special. You have hair. You have special parts of your body that do different things. You have your hands and your feet. You have your heart, and you have your legs and your arms. Those are all features of a human that make you special, that make you a human and not another animal. Well, this seahorse has a tail, and it helps them to do some things. It makes them special, and you're going to learn about the features of a seahorse in your book tomorrow. I can't wait to start that new book with you. All right, so now that you have learned these new words, now you're going to practice using them in the next slide. So stay tuned. Go to the next slide and see how you're going to practice using these words.